You wake up after a full night of sleep, yet a heavy, unyielding fatigue clings to your bones. Your joints ache slightly, your focus blurs with brain fog, and a general sense of feeling unwell lingers like a shadow you cannot shake. You might dismiss these symptoms as the inevitable cost of aging or the byproduct of a demanding, high stress lifestyle. But what if this persistent exhaustion is actually an alarm bell ringing deep within your body? The real surprise lies in an invisible threat silently operating beneath the surface, a biological fire that never quite burns out. This hidden mechanism is responsible for why so many people feel perpetually sick, drained, and structurally worn down without ever receiving a specific diagnosis. It is not a sudden virus or a localized injury, but rather a systemic condition that quietly compromises our well being over years or even decades. We are talking about chronic inflammation, a prolonged state of immune system hypervigilance. Understanding this relentless internal state is the absolute foundation for reclaiming your long term vitality. To grasp the magnitude of this threat, we must look at how our internal defense mechanisms are designed to operate. When you cut your finger or catch a seasonal cold, your immune system deploys a rapid, localized response to neutralize the pathogen and heal the tissue. This is acute inflammation, a perfectly healthy, life saving biological process characterized by temporary redness, swelling, and heat. Once the invader is defeated or the wound closes, the cellular troops retreat, and the body returns to a state of peaceful equilibrium. However, the narrative twists when those cellular troops receive faulty intelligence and refuse to stand down. The chronic form of this condition occurs when the immune system remains locked in an active defensive posture, continuously releasing inflammatory compounds even when no external danger is present. Instead of healing a wound, this prolonged biological crossfire begins to attack healthy tissues, organs, and blood vessels. It is akin to leaving a stovetop burner on a low, steady heat indefinitely, eventually damaging the very pot it was meant to warm. Medical science tracks this internal smoldering through specific, measurable markers in the bloodstream. One of the most telling indicators is C-reactive protein, a substance produced by the liver in direct response to systemic distress. Elevated levels of this protein serve as a crucial warning sign, providing a quantifiable metric for a condition that often evades standard medical observation. Alongside this marker, the body produces cytokines, small signaling proteins that act as the chemical messengers of the immune system, constantly broadcasting a state of emergency to every cell. When these chemical messengers continuously flood the system, the resulting cellular damage becomes the foundation for some of the most severe health conditions of the modern era. The persistent irritation of blood vessel walls accelerates the development of atherosclerosis, directly linking this immune dysfunction to heart disease and stroke. It also interferes with how our cells respond to insulin, paving the way for type 2 diabetes and profound metabolic dysfunction. The microscopic battlefield expands, transforming a localized defense mechanism into a systemic crisis that touches every major organ. Beyond cardiovascular and metabolic risks, this relentless immune activity is heavily implicated in autoimmune conditions, where the body completely loses the ability to distinguish between foreign invaders and its own tissue. Even neurodegenerative diseases and certain forms of cellular mutation have deep, documented roots in this prolonged inflammatory state. The invisible threat we face is not just a precursor to illness, but the active, driving force behind the most devastating diseases of our time. Stay with us to uncover how our modern environment actively fuels this biological fire. A common misconception is that this internal damage is purely genetic or a matter of unavoidable bad luck. In reality, the most significant drivers of this immune system overdrive are found in our daily habits and environmental exposures. Our modern lifestyle, characterized by convenience and constant stimulation, is fundamentally mismatched with our evolutionary biology. We are unknowingly providing the exact fuel required to keep the internal alarms ringing at full volume. The modern Western diet is arguably the largest contributor to this ongoing crisis. Highly processed foods, refined sugars, and industrial seed oils introduce foreign, irritating compounds into the digestive tract, triggering an immediate defensive response. When we consume these heavily modified ingredients meal after meal, the immune system is forced into a state of perpetual combat. The gut lining, a critical barrier between the outside world and our internal environment, becomes compromised, allowing microscopic particles to leak into the bloodstream and further escalate the alarm. Compounding the dietary assault is the modern epidemic of unmanaged psychological stress. When we experience anxiety over a looming deadline, financial pressures, or interpersonal conflicts, our brain perceives these non physical threats as immediate dangers to our survival. The body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, hormones designed to help us flee a predator, which simultaneously trigger the release of those aggressive immune messengers. Because our modern stressors rarely resolve with a physical escape, the chemical alarm bells simply continue to ring without resolution. Sleep deprivation acts as the final devastating multiplier in this physiological equation. During deep restorative sleep, the body performs critical maintenance, clearing out cellular debris and dampening immune system hyperactivity. When we consistently shortchange our rest, we strip the body of its primary mechanism for extinguishing the internal fire. The lack of recovery time ensures that the warning markers in our blood remain elevated, locking us into a dangerous cycle of fatigue and cellular distress. But what if we could rewrite this biological script? The same daily choices that fuel the fire also hold the power to extinguish it. By understanding the root causes, we can begin providing actionable, evidence based solutions to reverse the damage and restore our natural equilibrium. The path forward does not require extreme, punishing measures, but rather a series of intentional, scientifically grounded shifts in how we interact with our environment. The most profound intervention begins on our plate with an anti inflammatory diet. This is not a restrictive, short term cleanse, but a sustainable embrace of nutrient dense, whole foods that naturally soothe the immune system. Emphasizing colorful vegetables, leafy greens, and dark berries introduces powerful antioxidants that neutralize the rogue molecules driving cellular damage. These natural compounds act as a biological fire extinguisher, cooling the internal environment and signaling the immune troops to finally stand down. Incorporating high quality sources of omega 3 fatty acids is another critical strategy for calming the storm. Wild caught fatty fish, walnuts, and flax seeds provide the essential building blocks the body needs to produce specialized molecules that actively resolve systemic irritation. By shifting the balance away from the highly processed oils found in packaged foods, we fundamentally alter the structural composition of our cell membranes. This targeted dietary adjustment directly lowers the production of those aggressive chemical messengers. Physical activity also plays a paradoxical but vital role in this healing process. While an intense workout creates a brief, healthy spike in acute immune response, consistent, moderate exercise trains the body to become highly efficient at clearing it away. Regular movement, such as brisk walking, cycling, or swimming, improves circulation and encourages the release of soothing proteins from muscle tissue. This daily practice builds systemic resilience, ensuring that the body can handle minor stressors without sounding a massive systemic alarm. This protective effect of exercise goes all the way down to the cellular level. Contracting skeletal muscles release specific compounds known as myokines, which travel through the bloodstream and actively suppress the distress signals originating from excess visceral fat. By maintaining healthy muscle mass and staying physically active, we are essentially deploying our own internal pharmacy. We continuously dispense natural compounds that counteract the damage of modern sedentary living. To truly extinguish the fire, we must also address the psychological triggers, keeping our defenses on high alert. Implementing proven stress management techniques is not just about feeling relaxed. It is a biological imperative for lowering circulating distress markers. Practices such as mindfulness meditation, deep diaphragmatic breathing, and spending time in nature have been clinically shown to reduce cortisol levels and quiet the nervous system. These moments of intentional calm send a powerful signal to the primitive brain that the environment is finally safe. Protecting our sleep hygiene is the ultimate restorative anchor for all these efforts. Creating a dark, cool sleeping environment, limiting artificial light exposure before bed, and maintaining a consistent sleep schedule allows the brain to transition into deep, slow wave sleep. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality rest each night gives the immune system the mandatory downtime it needs to reset. This nightly ritual effectively lowers the volume on those aggressive cellular broadcasts. It is crucial to address the booming market of quick fix supplements promising to cure all ailments overnight. While certain natural compounds like curcumin from turmeric or concentrated ginger extract have demonstrated potent soothing properties in clinical trials, they are not magic bullets. You cannot outsupplement a highly processed diet, chronic sleep deprivation, and relentless psychological stress. True healing requires a foundational shift in lifestyle, using these natural compounds as targeted support rather than a primary defense. The journey to lowering systemic irritation is uniquely personal, yet the biological principles remain beautifully universal. You might begin to notice the subtle signs of healing within just a few weeks of adopting these changes. The mental fog lifts, the morning joint stiffness dissipates, and that heavy, unyielding fatigue is replaced by a renewed sense of natural energy. These are not merely subjective feelings, but the tangible results of your cells finally operating in a peaceful, balanced environment. As we sustain these habits over months and years, the long term protective benefits become profound. By keeping the biological fire in check, we drastically reduce our statistical risk of developing the chronic diseases that plague the modern world. We are actively preserving the elasticity of our blood vessels, protecting the delicate insulin receptors on our cells, and shielding our cognitive function from premature decline. Explaining this invisible threat allows us to take proactive, confident control over our own longevity. The scientific community continues to explore the intricate relationship between our environment, our gut microbiome, and our immune response. Emerging research is mapping exactly how specific strains of beneficial bacteria produce compounds that further regulate systemic immunity. As this field of study expands, our arsenal of solutions will only grow more precise, offering even more targeted interventions for those struggling with complex health challenges. We are entering an era where precision nutrition and lifestyle medicine take center stage. The key takeaway is that our bodies are not inherently flawed or destined for inevitable decline. The persistent aches, the vulnerability to illness, and the creeping fatigue are simply the immune system responding exactly as it was designed to, albeit to the wrong environmental cues. By removing the constant triggers of modern living, we allow the body's natural intelligence to course correct. The capacity for profound, lasting healing is already built into our biology. You hold the brush to paint a completely different future for your health and vitality. Start with a single manageable change today, perhaps swapping a sugary breakfast for a nutrient dense alternative, or committing to 10 minutes of quiet breathing before bed. These small, consistent actions compound over time, slowly turning down the dial on that internal heat. The science of human health, once a complex mystery, now stands as a clear, illuminated roadmap for vibrant living. Reclaiming our vitality is an ongoing practice of listening to the signals our bodies send and responding with care, proper nutrition, and deep rest. We no longer have to accept feeling perpetually worn down as a normal, unavoidable part of life. Armed with this knowledge, we can step out of the shadow of chronic illness and into a future defined by clarity, physical resilience, and enduring well being. The power to heal is entirely in our hands, one informed choice at a time.